Hi. I hope it's not weird, me writing to you. I've tried telling my story before, posting it on Reddit. I always get this weird feeling. I just thought putting my story out there might help, bring me some closure or something, but it just hasn't. Maybe if I tell my story to the right person. I really hope that's you. My name is Dan. We'll just stick with Dan, because of all the weirdos on the internet, I guess. I'm a pretty avid hiker. I really enjoy going out, following the trails, and swimming in waterfalls, all the good stuff. I'm not a pro by any means, but I think I'm experienced enough to recommend the right gear. I've slept outside overnight a couple of times. Point is, I feel capable enough. I got off work early one Friday, and it was about 3 months ago. I drove up to the mountains. I was going on a hike. I don't really want to share the location, because I know stupid people can be, stupid. I know the first thing they'll do is go looking, and I don't want anyone to get hurt because of me. So I park, I get my pack out. I've always got that guy ready to go. I'm on my way. One thing I should point out is that nothing about this hike was difficult. Looking at the map, point A to point B, back again, it's about 7.5 miles. Really, it's the type of hike I would introduce someone who's inexperienced to hiking to. You might be wondering why a self-proclaimed experienced hiker would go on such a simple hike. So I'll tell you. On this particular route, there's a boulder, and it's called Callum's Rock. It was named after a young boy who'd gotten lost in the woods near that particular rock. From what I'd heard, though, next to the boulder is some unofficial trail, and it's been tramped down by the locals. The trail leads to what some people call St. Philemon's Pool. Now, granted, I don't think there's ever been some saint of note in the area, so I'm not sure how it got its name. I kind of heard about it through the grapevine, and looking back, no one who had told me about it had ever actually been. They'd heard about it from someone else, and they mentioned it to me. Crystal clear waters, they said, cold as ice, straight from the natural fountain. Nice, large rocks to rest and sit. Sounded great. Again, it isn't on the park map. It's one of those best-kept secrets that everyone in town knows about. All the boys proposed to their girlfriends there, and no doubt they fooled around a time or two. I hit the trail going strong and feeling excited for the weekend. It was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so I had plenty of time. The weather was a little cool, and the sun was warm, so it was perfect. I reached Callum's Rock in about an hour. I probably could have gotten there faster, but I made a point to not be in a rush. At first, I wasn't sure if I'd find the right spot, but then I found a small wooden sign. It had a picture of Callum. Man, he looked like he was having fun. He looked like he was maybe 17, 18, but he was smiling, playing in the frigid water like only a child could. He had a big smile, and he was wearing these goggles with the straps pulled so tight they dangled off either side in a goofy fashion. He was a little pudgy, short, stocky. He was wearing what looked like some Power Ranger swim trunks and some lime green Crocs flipped into sports mode. Sorry, I don't know why all of these things are what I noticed, but I did. Next to the pictures were stickers. Some of them were newer, and some of them were older and faded. I got the impression that maybe Callum was into stickers, and that instead of putting flowers on the ground, they put stickers on the sign just for him. One of those stickers was for Down syndrome awareness, and my heart sank. It was kind of a bummer to see, but the truth is that I didn't know Callum, and every day we drive by probably a dozen crosses on the road, but it is what it is, and you go about your day. As soon as I noticed the small and padded trail, I quickly forgot about Callum. Now, I figure it being Friday afternoon, as I got closer, I would hear talking or splashing, maybe some kids squealing, but I noticed with a bit of a revelation that it was absolutely silent. As a matter of fact, looking back at it, I hadn't noticed any other cars parked either. The place was empty. I remember smiling to myself because if all was quiet, then That meant I had Philemon's pool all to myself. It wasn't long after I found the off-beaten path that I found the pool. I could see now why it wasn't exactly a trip the park officials would recommend. It was a pretty steep, pretty dicey boulder pile leaning towards an alcove-like rock face. It almost looked like a quarry, with sheer stone up the mountain and large rocks everywhere. The pool was crystal clear and sitting in the middle of a ring of boulders. Because it was mostly rock, there wasn't any sand or soot getting kicked up and muddying the water. It was crystal clear all the way to the bottom. The kind of water you only really see in pictures or videos. Frankly, I couldn't believe my luck. Not only was this place as good as... No, it was even better than description. I hopped across the rocks and my boots landed on a small pebble beach. As pretty as the place was, there were, of course, a few signs that people had been there. A few beer cans, some plastics, the usual suspects. Taking another look in the water, I wanted to swim. I've gotten warm enough from the hike, and just enough sweat on my brow that a dip in some cool water would no doubt feel amazing. I dropped my pack on the rocks, and I started yanking my shirt off. Kicked my boots off, hopping around on one foot so my socks didn't get too dirty, and I pulled those off too. I tossed my clothes on top of my bag and started for the water. No sooner did my toes break the surface than I heard something. It was like giggling. I whirled around, blushing, no doubt some girl, probably teenager or something. But then I looked, there was no one there. I strained my ears, listening for all the signs of someone moving through the woods, crackling rock, breaking twigs, rustling leaves, but there was nothing. Save the trickle of water. I didn't really think about it. After all, this was a popular spot, but maybe someone was just passing by, or something, I don't know. But as I was looking around, I noticed something colorful laid on one of the stones in the beam of sunlight. It was a red bikini top. I smiled to myself. Someone was no doubt having some fun. I couldn't help but glance around again. Maybe they were still out there, right? I waited a few moments longer, and when I didn't hear anything, I decided to check it out. When I got closer, I realized with some confusion that the bikini wasn't red. No, the bikini was black. It had been covered with some red substance. I couldn't help but think it was blood. Now understand, I wasn't afraid, more bemused. Hiking around, you see all kinds of weird stuff, and who knows how things end up sometimes, right? So I was just about to put it out of my mind when behind me I heard a splash. I whirled around. There wasn't a ripple in the glass water. Now I was on edge. That was weird. I was beginning to think that maybe I'd imagined the giggle, but I had not imagined that splash. And yet there was no evidence of such a thing. I noticed then a pair of swim trunks laid out on the rocks. My stomach knotted, because they were laid out on one of the rocks I had climbed over to reach the pool. I knew for a fact they had not been there before. I started to look around again, listening for any indication that someone might be nearby, that someone was pranking me or something, I don't know. That sickening feeling in my stomach didn't go away. All of a sudden, I wasn't so interested in swimming anymore. I walked over to the swim trunks, and they were almost shredded into strips, but had been laid out in such a way from a distance that they looked whole. I heard a squeal, like the squeal of a toddler who had just been scooped up by a parent, and I flinched in fear. My eyes landed on a child-sized ball cap set atop another one of the stones. I was sweating now. I remember a bead of it dripping down in my eye and it burned, but I didn't want to blink, because if I blinked, something might happen. There was something so freakish hiding in the millisecond of darkness that I was shaking. Again and again, I began to hear these distinct sounds, like echoes of a memory. And with each sound came a new article of clothing, a toy, a magazine, something that maybe belonged to the noisemaker. They were all over the rocks. I blinked, and when I did, the pool changed. It was fundamentally the same as before, and yet, what I had first taken to be smooth stones and sticks at the bottom of the pool were now skulls and bones. The skulls darkened as a shadow crept over them. It looked like a dark cloud on the water at first, but then I realized it was hair. Black hair so thick and flowing that it looked like a cloud of oil. Arms from within the cloud reached out. They were long and slender, pale, and they pulled behind them a long, snaking body from someplace deep within the pool. It didn't swim, it just crawled through the waters at a leisurely pace. I stood frozen, my eyes locked on the thing as it crawled towards me. It reached the center of the pool, and then the front of it, or at least what I assumed to be the front, masked by a cloud of hair, began to float towards the surface, just off the shore. Its silky skin cut the surface of the water without a sound, and it floated there like a drowned person, unmoving, just floating. Bubbles began to float from the mess of hair, dark red bubbles that broke the surface and marred the crystalline waters with a smear of red. It just sat there, unmoving. Looking back on it, I feel as though I can remember it so clearly, and yet the details are fuzzy. Did it have scales? Leathery skin? Claws? I don't know. It was right there, and yet I can describe it only as I have. The words just won't change or come out any better. I knew in that moment I was gonna die. Whoever came to the pool next would hear my echoing scream. They would find my clothes laying on a rock, and I would be bones at the bottom of a pool. In truth, that was almost what happened. But as if from an act of God on high, or some guardian angel or something, one last memory played. A boy's voice cried out, "Cowabunga!" And I heard the splash of water, the spray of droplets on the rock, and then they were there. 2 lime green Crocs in sports mode. Laugh if you will. Laugh because it's funny. Laugh because you're nervous. I don't care. There was something in seeing those Crocs that registered in my mind. Run. And I've never ran so fast in all of my life. I gave no concern to the hazardous terrain, to my backpack, my boots, or anything. I just ran. I didn't stop until I reached Callum's Rock. I was looking back, expecting to see that thing slithering up the trail after me, but I didn't. I don't know what I saw, not really. Every day goes by, I feel myself becoming more and more unsure of it all. The only thing that I think I can trust was that intense fear that I felt standing on that pebble beach. And that's a fear I've felt every day since. It's the only evidence I have. I bought some stickers. Nice ones, you know? Not that cheap page of stickers that you can find at any old store. Some good ones. Stickers I feel Callum would have liked. Because if it hadn't been for his memory, I wouldn't be here. I want to put some of them on a sign, but I can't bring myself to go back. Not yet. Addendum. Based on the information that Dan unintentionally provided, we were able to locate the mountain. As of yet, we haven't been able to investigate, but prior to Dan's arrival, the locals in the area had all but banned the pool. As much as it is a well-known secret, it also has become a well-known rumor. Dan must not have known. Current estimate is that around 11 people have gone missing. Well, missing.